Shalom, shalom. Before I get started, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, YAHAWAHSHI, Ba'ashem, Rakah, Kadash, and double honors to the apostles and elders that I learned this truth from, the men at GMS, and the brethren with the like mind of doctrine. Today I got this video here, I got a disclaimer, Fair Use Act in the beginning. But this is a documentary, so to speak. It says Babylon, past, present, and future. Full movie, right? Plain Truth Ministries. Basically, I just want to show you that Esau Edom, he's beating around the bush of that that he knows, according to what's being shown, he knows what's Babylon the Great, man. What country is Babylon the Great? Through the information that he's going to give, which I'm going to show at the end. Because he goes into the past, Babylon, the original Babylon. But what we know as Babylon the Great today is America. And the information and the information, Salakia, that is brought out, it's without a doubt that that country, this great country, is talking about is mentioned here, is can be nobody but none other than America. So I'm gonna let this video play, and I'm gonna probably bring out some other things to basically solidify or verify that Babylon the Great is America. So I'm gonna go ahead and let this video play.
Here we have all the vivid imagery of apocalyptic writing. It's a future time. There's the woman, the beast, the vibrant colors and the symbolism. The symbolism of a harlot. The Bible has a lot to say about harlotry. God uses it to show how individuals and nations can be seduced from allegiance to Him.
In the Old Testament, harlotry is usually an imagery for idolatry. That is to say, that people commit harlotry. God's people commits harlotry when it is unfaithful to God, when it pursues idol worship. And now the church is faced with the same kind of threat, to abandon its true worship of God for other sorts of idols. Well, a harlot is an image of a seductress, someone who, as I said, is enticing them, alluring them to follow this way and to give up their loyalties to what they know to be the true God.
The Bible uses the symbol of harlotry in a couple of different ways.
God can help you, Travis.
That's like you. That was a commercial.
Being false gods. But as New Testament scholar George Eldon, the Bible uses the symbol of harlotry in a couple of different ways. Harlotry is worshiping false gods. But as New Testament scholar George Eldon Ladd explains, harlotry also means the prostitution of everything for commercial gain. The metaphor of harlotry is also used by the prophets of the heathen nations. Tyre is a city who will play the harlot with all the kingdoms of the world upon the face of the earth. The idea here is not one of spiritual faithlessness, but of the prostitution of everything to commercial gain. Nineveh is also described as a harlot because of the way she enticed weaker nations by her display of power and splendor, only to scorn and enslave them. Ladd says of Revelation chapter 17, here the harlot is Babylon, the symbol of human civilization with all its pomp and circumstance organized in opposition to God, the city which has dominion over the kings of the earth. We've traced Babylon's appeal through the scripture.
So it said the city that has dominion over all the kings of the earth. So I'm gonna bring out some information. Salakia. So yeah, it says that country that has great power over the kings of the earth, roughly paraphrasing. So I Googled America power to sanction. It says authority to prohibit U.S. citizens from engaging in financial transactions with the government. So that's not what I want, but I'm going to go here where it says, why does the U.S. have sanction powers? This says economic sanctions are usually imposed by a larger country upon a smaller country for one of two reasons. Either the latter is a perceived threat to the security of the former nation, or that country treats its citizens unfairly. And I'm gonna go here and it says, do any countries have sanctions on the U.S.? It says most recently, the United States of America has been involved in multiple trade wars and imposed economic sanctions on multiple countries, such as the People's Republic of China, Iran, and Russia. In retaliation, multiple countries have imposed economic sanctions on the United States of America. So that lets you know America has that power to sanction basically these other countries. And you've seen that throughout the news, dealing with Trump and Biden. They're giving out sanctions on various countries, China, Iran, Russia, all these other, North Korea, Babylon the Great, aka America, is that power. So I'm gonna get back to this video.
Scriptures and through history, organized in opposition to God, the city which has dominion over the kings of the earth.
See, it said the city that has dominion over the kings on the earth. You see it, Babylon the Great, aka America, has that power to sanction other countries, man. It's the ones that's basically giving out all these sanctions. Is dominating all these other countries, all the other kings of the earth.
We've traced Babylon's appeal through the scriptures and through history, from the Tower of Babel to Nebuchadnezzar's city, and now to the book of Revelation, where Babylon the Great has reached immense power.
I think John is trying to paint Babylon as alluring and enticing. And one of the ways you would do that is to show how wealthy and prosperous and satisfying this reality is. And it can lull Christians into a false sense of security. So he's warning them by showing the seductiveness of this particular vision of the world.
In the book of Revelation, then, Babylon the Great becomes the code word for a monstrous anti-Christian world system, an economic colossus dedicated to accumulating power and wealth through world trade. This is Babylon's fatal attraction, commercial gain at any cost.
For all the nations have drunk the maddening wine of her adulteries. The kings of the earth committed adultery with her, and the merchants of the earth grew rich from her excessive luxuries.
Across the centuries, many have attempted to identify Babylon with specific nations, empires, or even churches. Every year, it seems, new candidates are nominated for the role of the symbolic figures in the book of Revelation. Babylon, the beast, the false prophet. But all interpretations have one thing in common. They've all been wrong.
The history of interpreting the book of Revelation is quite interesting because almost every generation of Christians that reads it feels we are the direct addressees of that book. Babylon is this entity or this church or this empire. Time and time again, people have predicted the end of events, and then they've had to change their minds, revise, redo. Maybe we read that wrong, maybe we read that wrong, and this refrain is repeated over and over, not just in the 20th century, but the whole history of reading and interpreting this book shows we've been wrong time and time again. Now that ought to tell us that it's very dangerous to jump to conclusions about and to be dogmatic about who is Babylon, when do these events happen. The when question is probably not the most important question in the book of Revelation anyway. That God will triumph. That God will triumph through Jesus Christ. These are the central affirmations of that book. But when it happens and who fits what picture strike me as almost leading us away from the central message of that book.
So the book of Revelation describes the final culmination of the spirit of ancient Babylon, an anti-God attitude that is present today, present through history, and will reach its climax at the end of the age. But no matter what happens, God's final triumph over all things is assured. Chapter 18 of the book of Revelation celebrates in advance God's final victory over Babylon the Great.
When the kings of the earth who committed adultery with her and shared her luxury see the smoke of her burning, they will weep and mourn over her. Terrified at her torment, they will stand far off and cry, "Woe, woe, O great city, O Babylon, city of power! In 1 hour your doom has come." The merchants of the earth will weep and mourn over her because no one buys their cargoes anymore. The merchants who sold these things and gained their wealth from her will stand far off, terrified at her torment. They will weep and mourn and cry out. Then a mighty angel picked up a boulder the size of a large millstone and threw it into the sea and said, "With such violence the great city of Babylon will be thrown down, never to be found again."
Yes, the story of Babylon is a sobering one. That old city buried beneath the Mesopotamian plain has become the symbol of a society given over to greed, a society moving farther and farther away from the knowledge of God. Does this sound familiar? John is describing a world very much like ours today. Merchants in the ancient Near East grew rich by the exploitation of pleasure. Many business people today are doing the same thing. Business deals and buyouts are often based on greed, money, and power. Many individuals take advantage of the system to enrich themselves while exploiting the young, the old, the uneducated, and the unfortunate. Christian.
So right there, he was showing basically what's happening in America. Those video clips or images that he just showed was things that happens in America. So I have this this video, this information, this article I want to bring in too, Salakia, that basically says who's the wealthiest country in the world. Or this information on that. Bear with me. All right. Google says, when was America known to be the wealthiest country in the world? So, it says, when did America become the richest country in the world? So the United States has been the world's largest national economic in terms of GDP since since at least the 1920s. America been this wealthy country since the 1920s. And it says here, is America the richest country in history? It says the U.S. is, by any measure, the wealthiest, most powerful, and most influential country in the history of the world. The Romans, so they said America was the U.S. is the most wealthy and the most powerful and most influential country in the history of the world. That's what it says here. It says the Roman and the Egyptian empires each survived more than 500 years. Will the U.S. have the same staying power? Well, that short season, that we're in. The demon Esau Edom is at the rule the world. And it says here, is America the richest country in the world in 2021? It says, which is the richest country in the world in 2021? It says here, China is the richest country in the world. It has recently surpassed the the United States as the richest country in the world. So this all is pertaining to what? The fall of Babylon, man, because this place is falling. So that's what it says that China has surpassed the U.S. as the richest country in the world. It's because what? Because it's prophesied that Babylon is going to fall. So we in the stages of Babylon crumbling, man, and it is not, it will not be healed. So I also got this article here. It says this. It's New York Times. It says the United States is the richest country in the world, and it has the biggest wealth gap. So and this article was September 2020. You know, I'm not gonna read it, but that's what the title of the article says, that the U.S. the New York Times said the U.S. is the richest country of the world. You know, so that's Babylon the Great, man. You know that made all the nations drunk. You know, and rich through trade. So like get this other information out. Okay, I got this article here. It's from the Office of the United States Trade and Representatives.gov, and it says benefits of trade. It says the United States is the world's largest economy and largest exporter and importer of goods and services. Trade is critical to America's prosperity, fueling economic growth, supporting good jobs at home, raising living standards, and helping Americans provide for their families with affordable goods and services. In 2017, the U.S. was the world's largest goods and services trading nation, with exports in goods and services totaling $2.35 trillion. So, you know, that's telling who the largest export and trading, man. Export and import, the U.S. So like it was just said in Revelations, getting back to the video, Salakia. Yeah, Salakia, for some reason my YouTube won't, it will not let me pull up my YouTube. I tried it a few different times. It won't let me go to the it won't let me my YouTube. You know, I don't know if it's Esau or Edom, or I don't know if it's just my phone. You know, this demon might be hurt, but but it won't. My YouTube will not come up. So I got it here. Revelations the 18th chapter, and the 3rd verse, and it says, "For all the nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication, and the kings of the earth have committed fornication with her, and the merchants of the earth are waxed rich through the abundance of her delicacies." You know, so that's the abundance, man. Salakia, hold on, Salakia. Yeah, Salakia, Revelations 18:9, it says, "And the kings of the earth who have committed fornication and lived deliciously with her shall bewail her and lament for her when they see the smoke of her burning, standing afar off for the fear of her torment, saying, Alas, alas, that great city Babylon, that mighty city, for in 1 hour is thy judgment come. And the merchants of the earth shall weep and mourn over her, for no man buyeth their merchandise anymore," man. You know, that's what we just went into that article, that it says, you know, the U.S. is, you know, the largest importer exporter, man. 2017. You know, and that's what we trading with these other countries, man. They getting rich. They getting rich with this whole Babylon the Great. So like that video said, like he said, like the guy was bringing out, Esau Edom was bringing out that that we are living that he see these things happening and we're in America. He was describing the situation that America is in. So I'm not gonna make this video too long. I hope the point was made. I think it was made that it's no without a doubt, man. If you do some a little bit of research, of course you got to get the understanding from the apostles and elders, you know. So through the Holy Spirit, YAHAWAHSHI, YAHAWAHSHI, YAHAWAH, YAHAWAHSHI, of course. But it's none other than America. Is this great whole, man. So I'm just end it off there. And I want to say, call halayam la Yahawah Ba'ashem, Yahawashi Ba'ashem Rakakadash. Shalom to the next time, Yahawah, Ratazah, which means Lord willing, and YAHAWAH Babal.